And I'm Courtney Markowitz. Are gas stations becoming too common in Houston neighborhoods? Houston City Council member Edward Pollard is here to discuss why dozens of community groups are asking for the city to hit pause and rethink what gets built next.
Plus, why do so many smart people keep sending money to online strangers? Austin novelist Amanda Eyre Ward explains the psychology behind romance scams and the people who profit from loneliness.
And as always, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870, or you can email us at talk@hellohouston.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Louise Schiavone. Political primaries are underway in 6 states today. In Wisconsin, a Democratic socialist is seeking to capture the Democratic nomination for governor. She hopes to follow in the footsteps of like-minded candidates who have won in other states. Maayan Silver from member station WUWM reports.
Francesca Hong's progressive platform has generated buzz among young voters and others drawn to her message, like Timmel Heck.
There's the moratorium on data centers, there's Medicaid for all, universal child care. She brings all the things that we need to make Wisconsin a great place again.
Hong is a 37-year-old state lawmaker, bartender, and chef, and daughter of Korean immigrants. Some of her previous statements have sparked controversy, including about defunding the police and canceling Thanksgiving. She sought to distance herself from those remarks. Wisconsin's outgoing Democratic governor has endorsed Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley. He says he's concerned about Hong's chances against the likely Republican nominee, Congressman Tom Tiffany. For NPR News, I'm Maayan Silver in Milwaukee.
In Colombia, heavy debris removal and rescue efforts continue in that country's Pacific Coast region, where yesterday's 7.4 magnitude quake has left at least 111 people dead. We get details from reporter Manuel Rueda in Bogota.
The mayor there said that there's at least 15 buildings where people could still be trapped under the rubble. He said that at least 55 people were killed in that city. And the biggest of the cities that has been affected is Cali, where the mayor said that 40 buildings were destroyed and confirmed the deaths of at least 15 people.
Manuel Rueda in Bogota. It's been a year since President Trump deployed the National Guard to Washington, D.C. Some worry it's normalizing basing armed, uniformed troops in American cities in non-emergency situations. NPR's Kat Lonsdorf reports.
President Trump declared a crime emergency in D.C. last August, despite violent crime being at a 30-year low, and deployed the National Guard. Since then, the number of armed troops patrolling the city has gone from around 800 to nearly 5,000 from more than 20 different states. Despite that, there has been a 3% increase in violent crime in the past year, according to city police data. Opportunistic crimes like theft and vehicle break-ins have continued to decrease. Trump has repeatedly touted the deployment as a success, claiming falsely that there is, quote, almost no crime in D.C. now. The deployment currently has an estimated cost of around $3 million per day. It's been extended until Inauguration Day 2029. Kat Lonsdorf, NPR News, Washington.
Russia has released former U.S. Marine Robert Gilman, arrested 4 years ago in Russia. The U.S. has argued he was wrongfully detained. Wall Street, the Dow basically flat. This is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Tom Perumian. Firefighters remain on scene, working to put out a large blaze at a recycling facility on the northeast side of town right now. Large flames and smoke had been seen coming from the Ironman scrap metal plant on Goodyear Drive along Highway 225, that is east of the 610 loop. It's not immediately clear if anyone had been injured or a cause. We will keep you updated. This comes just a month after another massive fire at a recycling plant. That fire still under investigation by the TCEQ. Voters in the Cy-Fair School District are going to decide a $1.6 billion bond package this November. The board approved putting it on the ballot last night, with trustee Christine Kalmbach casting the only no vote.
And I just wanted to say for the record, I know that the district has needs, and I want to support that. My issue is the amount.
Cy-Fair has an $80 million deficit going into this school year. District leaders say they will have to make significant cuts to personnel and transportation without additional funding. A federal judge reinforced Texas' new ban on some THC products. The judge declined to block the state's latest regulations on most synthetic forms of THC, even as a lawsuit plays out. The judge ruled that the lawsuit did not demonstrate irreparable harm from the ban on interstate commerce of the products. Checking sports, the Astros get a 6-3 win in extra frames over the San Francisco Giants last night. The two teams will go at it again tonight at 8:45. Astros hanging on to a half-game lead in the AL West. Checking your weather, 40% chance of afternoon showers and thunderstorms. Otherwise, it's going to be mostly sunny with a high near 95. Tonight, a 20% chance of overnight rain, a low around 79 degrees. Right now, mostly cloudy, 86 degrees on the UH campus. Get more news and information. Go to houstonpublicmedia.org. I'm Tom Perumian. News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include DuckDuckGo, who believes AI should be optional and who've been building privacy tools for 15 years. They now offer Duck.ai, where users can chat privately with AI. Duck.ai. This is NPR.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870. Or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston.
Well, hello there, Houston. Ernie Manous with you this morning, along with Courtney Markowitz, who is joining me. I'm so excited to have your second day of our Leading Ladies of Houston. Another great actor is sitting in with me. Courtney, so good to have you here.
It's so good to see you. It's a dramatic week over here.
It's always a dramatic week over here. For folks who may recognize the name, may have seen you around, where have folks seen you, do you think?
We've been here for about 11 years now. I keep saying we just moved to Houston, but I primarily perform. I've been very lucky to perform with Theater Under the Stars quite a bit. I just did my 14th show with them this holiday season in White Christmas. But I've done a couple shows with stages. I have another stages show coming up pretty soon and just finished a show with AD Players.
Okay, I want to talk about the show you just finished with AD Players. This is one of those things that any of us that love theater, it's a problem we have. You hear about a show that is doing so well, that's so well reviewed, that you want to see, and you're like, okay, finally, I'm aware of it, I'm going to go see it, and it's closed.
Well, especially I think if it's a longer run, because everyone promises themselves that they're going to make it because it ran all summer, more so than like a touch show that runs for 2 weeks, so everyone knows you have 2 weekends to get there.
Right. It was Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dream.
Yes.
You were the narrator.
I was.
I so wanted to see the show, and I missed it. And I find that what ends up happening is I go to a lot more theater right after that happens. So I've been out at the theater. I'm going to be out this weekend every night going to theater.
Love it.
All because I missed you doing the role I wanted to see you play.
Well, you're welcome, Ernie.
Okay, role that you most love, that most matches you.
I was very fortunate. Right before the pandemic, I played Mother in Ragtime, that just won Casey Levy the Tony this year. And it's our director was Marcia Milgram Dodge, who directed the first revival of it. And she came to me right as we were opening and said, "I'm very sorry, but I'm about to ruin your life because no other show will measure up to this one. No other role will measure up to this one." She's like, "I'm very sorry, but I've ruined your mental career for you." And it is true. It's just really a once in a lifetime part. But also, I mean, Betty Haynes in White Christmas was so much fun.
And you visited us here on the show when
did,
White Christmas was going, and that's a great one.
Yeah, we loved that show. It was there's a couple of shows that always you have to mourn when they close. It's very hard, but
yeah. But you have the memory. That's the joy of theater.
Absolutely.
They happen in moments, and you want to grasp those moments and enjoy them.
Exactly.
And folks, when you hear about a show you want to see, go see it. Don't let it pass, because then you'll be like me and you'll be going to everything else because you didn't get to go to what you wanted to go and see.
That's all right.
But anyway, we've got a full show for you today, so don't worry. We're going to be talking about Gas stations in your community. Are there too many or more coming up? Are they dangerous? What should we know about them? Well, City Council is taking a look at that, and we have our City Council member here to talk about it coming up in just a little bit. Also, there has been a wonderful endowment over at TSU to help women and breast cancer, and we'll be talking about that a little bit later in the show. We're going to talk about the rich history of jazz. We got a lot on today's show, so stay with us as the show continues. But we always like to start with the news of the day. So, Courtney, take us in.
Sure. So what is the top dog in Houston? Well, it depends on where you live. According to 5 years of dog registration data obtained by Houston Public Media, Labrador Retrievers, Pit Bulls, and Chihuahuas are the 3 most commonly registered breeds across the city. Labs dominate zip codes on the west side of the city. Pit Bulls and Chihuahuas wrestle for the top spot along the northeast and south areas of Houston. Joining us now to discuss these findings, Houston Public Media reporter Dominic Anthony Walsh. Dominic, welcome back to Hello Houston.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's an easy trip for you. Just come across the hall. Come over to join us here.
Not too far.
Yesterday, I was in the newsroom chit-chatting, and they mentioned this story. And you came over, and you were like, oh, yeah, take a look at the map. I went online. I have been fascinated with it since. There is an interactive map that shows you different zip codes, what dogs, the top 3 breeds in each one. But it's also very interesting when you pull back and look at the city as a whole. What does it tell you when you look at this map?
Yeah, I mean, I asked a city official about this map, and he attributed this spread to the city's diverse cultural demographics. Over on the west side of the city, you see that Labrador Retrievers lead a lot of the zip codes at the number 1 spot. On the south and north sides, we get a lot more Pit Bulls. And then across parts of east and southeast Houston, Chihuahuas are up there in the mix. And so, the city official that I spoke with said this map kind of reflects what you might expect given the cultural demographics of Houston. And then, interestingly, there are 2 zip codes that were outliers from the rest of the city. We had one little area where poodles led the pack in between West University Place and River Oaks neighborhood. And then one spot way out west, closer to Katy off of I-10, where golden retrievers led the way.
That's where we are.
Oh, and so, well, maybe you're in that zip code.
We have a golden retriever.
Oh, yep. Wow, there you go.
That's us pushing that statistic.
Yeah.
So what is it that you think dominates a particular breed in a particular area when you look at this?
Well, I'll speak to my own personal experience. I care for 2 Labrador Retriever mixes. One of them has a little bit of Pit mixed in. One of them has a little bit of Greyhound mixed in. With the Pit puppy, I love how energetic he is. He's very muscular. He's getting a little older now. He's 7, so he's calmed down a little bit. But, he's been playing with my 6-month-old puppy, who's a Greyhound Lab mix, and they're kind of on the same energy level. So I think, Labs are very loving. Pits have lots of energy. And so, those are the 2 that I have the most experience with, and I'm very fond of them.
I will say what surprised me the most was I would have never guessed that Chihuahuas were a big breed around these days in general. I mean, I just kind of think of them as a dog from the past that nobody really has. But it turns out I'm way off.
I mean, well, I'll say this. My fiance, her mom is Guatemalan, her dad is Mexican. They got 2 Chihuahuas in the house. And we see kind of that lining up with the more heavily Latino areas of Houston. It's a popular dog breed there.
Yeah. It's a fun map to look at from the surface and click around the different zip codes and see what it is. On a more serious note, what does it say to you about the city, and what are your thoughts looking at this and the demographic breakup?
Well, I cover City Hall, and so a lot of what I cover is policy. And one of the things that I kind of took away from this story, chatting with Councilmember Mario Castillo, a big animal fan, self-described dog lover who advocates for more animal welfare funding, he mentioned not everyone registers their dog with the city. One thing we found is that over the past 5 years, there were only 56,000 dogs registered. And we did some napkin math based on survey responses from Rice University's Kinder Institute and found indications that there are over 500,000 household dogs in the city. And so he said, there really needs to be more of an education campaign from the city, a public policy push to get people to register their dogs. And he said it's about, responsible and sustainable pet ownership across the city.
Do you find when you look at this too, when you talk about, dogs that have more energy and maybe dogs that are more homebound dogs that you can keep in an apartment or in a house, does that influence, do you think, the way people are purchasing or owning these animals, or not really?
Yeah, I mean, so for the story, we talked to a couple dog parents, and I think kind of my favorite reaction that we heard was from a dachshund mom. She has 2 young dachshunds, and, in that case, she really likes their temperament. She likes how attached they become to one person, and they hold the top spot in her heart, but they are at number 8 on the list. And I think everyone kind of has their own perception and love of their own dogs. Everybody kind of likes whatever temperament their dog has. And, I personally live in Midtown. I see dogs of all different sizes. Right. I'm in a house turned into an apartment with a decent amount of space. I got 2 dogs in there. And, I got a yard, so they got room to run around. But, even the people that live in kind of the apartment complexes in my area, I see some big dogs walking around those apartment complexes.
See, that's what I would wonder. I would think that inner city, the closer you get to the center of the city, you're going to get smaller dogs and stuff because you're in apartments. There's not as much park space, all of that. When you go further out, you're going to get bigger dogs, but it doesn't really reflect that.
I see the Huskies in Midtown. Yeah. I see the Golden Retrievers. I see other labs like my dogs. So, yeah, there are some big ones over there.
So when are you going to sit down now and do cats?
It's interesting because cats also are supposed to be registered with the city. Right. So,
that's a point. Before we even get to that, if you have an animal in the city, a dog or cat, they need to be registered.
Yes,
correct?
Yes, and the annual fee to register your animal with the city is less than the fine if you do not register your animal.
So it's a good investment, and it's the law.
Yes.
Okay, go back to the cats. I cut you off there, though.
Yeah, and so there's definitely a potential follow-up story to be done with the cats. I would be curious to see if kind of the breed or the description of the cat lines up with what we're seeing in terms of the kind of cultural geography of the city, the way the dogs do.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. I wouldn't know what to say about my cats. One's got long hair, one's got short, one's gray, one's black. I don't know breed. I don't know anything beyond that. I think with dogs, we're a lot more aware of what they are. Where cats.
And even with the dogs, this is another caveat of the story. We chatted with an expert from Friends for Life Animal Shelter, and she pointed out that in her experience, people actually aren't as good as they think they are when it comes to guessing the breed of their dog.
Really?
I found a 2013 study in the American Journal of Sociological Research. Researchers asked people to guess the breeds of 20 dogs. They had 900 responses, and across those 20 different dogs, the accuracy of the guesses ranged from 0 to 82%. And so, the authors said that kind of raises questions about the type of database we're even looking at. So within this story, we do include those caveats about the data. This is not a perfect picture of the dog population, even though it is very interesting.
Well, when we look at this in the proliferation, why can't I say the word, of dogs in a particular area, do you think it comes out of more, once there are those dogs there, they have puppies, they continue to live within that neighborhood and it builds that way, or are people specifically picking certain breeds in those areas?
I mean, I'm glad you mentioned that because this is another thing to note about the story. We don't necessarily know what the stray dog population looks like. There is a big stray dog population in Houston that, reproduces. They aren't registered with the city, right? They don't have owners living on the streets, so they're not reflected in this data. We don't necessarily know how many of the dogs that are registered are just, repopulating, reproducing amongst themselves, or are being rescued and, adopted. So it's a good question.
Courtney, let me throw a question at you about this then. So you picked a golden retriever. You live in a golden retriever zip code area. I'm curious, what influenced you to get a golden retriever?
Well, we had a golden retriever that we lost just a couple of months ago, and my children were very demanding that we get another one. My husband and I didn't feel quite ready, but I mean, the joy that it brings them is just, fantastic. But we found our breeder through a friend of ours that also has the same dog. And I think especially when you get kids involved, it becomes, kind of a guaranteed thing. If you know someone who has experience with this breed, things like that. Right. But I'm also curious, just with the numbers, it seems like there's probably also a correlation between types of dogs that people tend to get more than one of. Because I think about Chihuahuas and I think about them almost always in pairs. And then like pit bulls, that to me, as a generalization, it's usually people who have rescued dogs. And I think people who rescue dogs tend to do it over and over again, thankfully. And so I wonder if that has anything to do with like the numbers that you see too.
For sure. We would definitely need to do a deeper analysis of the data to see, on a per household level, how many of these dogs live there. That is one of the things that, Rice University's Kinder Institute looked into in the survey we mentioned earlier. About 40% of survey respondents in Houston told the Kinder Institute that they had a dog, and about half of that number said they had 2 or more. So we're looking at about 20% of survey respondents in Houston saying that they have 2 or more dogs in their household.
Well, I do want to remind everyone that if you want to go waste a lot of time looking at this map, because it's eaten up so many hours now of mine going around and clicking on, it's at HoustonPublicMedia.org. And I don't mean waste your time, but boy, oh boy, it can be a time suck. It's a lot of fun to play into these interactive maps. But go look at the reporting that Dominic has done. Dominic, thank you for coming in and sharing it with us today.
Thanks, y'all.
It's great. Dominic Anthony Walsh, always covering the stories of interest to you from our community, and over at HoustonPublicMedia.org. And also the story is going to drop today on air.
Yeah, on All Things Considered today, morning edition tomorrow.
Well,
yes.
Okay, Dominic, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So you've got your puppy.
I do
It's
have my
wearing
puppy.
you out.
Oh, she's 12 weeks. She's the cutest thing ever. So much fun. But I said they're like newborns that are mobile. I mean, you don't really get that period where they stay where you leave them.
The other part that I like about that story is you were talking with Jim, our producer, earlier, and it's the whole thing of, the kids are going to take care of the kids are going to do it.
Oh, sure. Yep. I say it all the time. Take your dog out, and
it's
trying to pry them away from that television, Bluey, to go take their own dog out can be tough.
Well, we don't want you to go anywhere near a TV unless you're watching us on a YouTube feed on your TV. We want you to stay right here listening to Hello Houston. When we come back, more interesting conversation and chat. We are going to be talking about gas stations and should there be some regulations on what's being built in your community. We'll have those answers for you coming up next.
Meet Dio Choco. We just took his keys for the day and gave him a Ride Metro fare card. This is his story. Visit ridemetro.org/Choco to find out where is Choco.
Investing in Houston Public Media.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV8 at 7, celebrate Ken Burns' landmark series, The Civil War, with in-depth interviews and favorite clips. Then at 8:30, watch Burns' biographical portrait of Thomas Jefferson, tonight on TV8.
Boy Throb is an unconventional boy band, partly because one member has never physically met his bandmates.
We need 1 million followers for me to get a visa so I can sing and dance in America.
After almost a year of campaigning on social media, Boy Throb is bringing its 4th member to the U.S. I'm Elsa Chang, the band's quest for a visa on All Things Considered from NPR News.
All Things Considered this afternoon starting at 3 on News 88.7.
California's San Andreas Fault hasn't produced a sizable earthquake in a long time, and it's worrying that it hasn't.
Right now, we're seeing the most amount of seismic strain than we've ever seen before in the past 1,000 years.
The likelihood of a massive natural disaster in densely populated cities. That's next time on Think.
Listen to Think tonight at 11 o'clock here on News 88.7.
There have been years of state investment and strategic planning, and now Beijing is looking more and more like the technology capital of the world. I'm Kyle Rizdal. What happens if, or maybe when, China wins the battle for tech supremacy, and would that be enough to tip the scales of the world economic order? We'll talk about that next time on Marketplace.
Don't miss Marketplace after All Things Considered this evening starts at 6:30 here on News 88.7.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Ernie Manous and Courtney Markowitz.
As Houston continues to grow, so does the debate over what kind of development best serves its neighborhoods. One Houston City Council member is asking the city to hit the brakes on one type of business he says has become too common. District J Council member Edward Pollard is calling for a 90-day pause on approving new gas stations near residential neighborhoods, arguing the city needs time to study the impact on public health, safety, and quality of life before more are built. Supporters say the move could encourage more diverse neighborhood development, while critics question whether a moratorium is the right approach. Councilmember Pollard joins us now to tell us more about why he's pushing for the pause, what he hopes it will accomplish, and what it could mean for Houston's future growth. Councilmember Edward Pollard, welcome to Hello Houston.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here. I guess before we even get into the conversation, how much is it a problem that we don't have zoning? Does that play into this at all?
Definitely plays into it heavily. Yeah. I mean, when you don't have zoning, you can develop on any private property as long as it's for a legal purpose. And so Houston is the only major city in America with no zoning. We've become accustomed to that. And sometimes there's unintended consequences that come along with that as well. And we need really strong community partners to ensure that each community is thriving and has a good quality of life. So what you put on these properties matters. And gas stations is something that has become a big topic.
Yeah. Does the lack of zoning make what you're doing right now more challenging, or is there a way to work through this without
There's
that?
always a way to work through it.
I like that
I'm a
attitude.
lawyer, so I think there's, I don't live in absolutes. I always believe that there's a way in which you can navigate whatever the circumstances are. And this is something I think we could be creative about, but that's what the discussion is about. That's what we need to be able to hear from stakeholders, hear from community, hear from the industry, look at, the ordinances and policies that we have, and just rethink it. Be able to have a conversation on, are we doing it the way that really meets the needs of community? And so that'll be up to Houstonians and the mayor's office for us to kind of convene and put that together.
And just to reiterate what exactly you're proposing right now, you're saying, let's pause and talk. Explain the outline of what you're asking.
So this is community-led. Let me put that out there. This is not Edward Pollard's idea.
This wasn't a platform you came in on, a plank you wanted.
And the thing
to
about
see.
it is, what's crazy is, I was the only no vote on the budget. I've been pretty outspoken on ICE and all these really current events and topics that are going on. So I was getting these emails from residents and constituents from all over the Houston area on gas stations and their issue with having a concentrated amount of gas stations near residential areas. And I really wasn't answering these emails because I'm saying, is this another big topic for me to lead on? So I was kind of waiting to see if someone else would pick this up. And after a while, they kept emailing. I said, am I the only council member they're reaching out to? I don't know. So I said, let me just run with this because I saw that there was about 40 neighborhoods represented from all over the city that had signed on to this letter. And I wanted to carry that message for them to the mayor's office. And so I sent a letter to the mayor proposing a 90-day moratorium on the approval of applications for new construction of gas stations near residential neighborhoods. Now, that doesn't conflict with existing approvals of applications. So if a gas station is currently under construction right now, it does not affect them or any existing gas station, but any application for a future approval of a development of a gas station, we wanted to pause on that so that we can have an opportunity to bring stakeholders to the table and discuss, are we developing too many gas stations near residential properties? And there are a myriad of different issues that come along with having gas stations near homes, from a health standpoint, from a public safety standpoint, from a commercial development standpoint, and economic development standpoint. So I think it's a very healthy discussion to have, and something that Houstonians are pushing.
When we talk about this, too, I think a lot of folks first hear it and they think to themselves about the nuisance of having a gas station maybe in your community. People driving by love having it there. The people who live there don't usually love it as much. But actually, this is much deeper than just it being a nuisance in the neighborhood. It is the environmental impact and things like that. Are there studies that already exist that say what those issues are, Or is this something we've never really taken the time to look at?
Well, people have raised the issue, and there are some studies that are out there, and some of these stakeholder groups have that data. And I think that's important for them to have a platform to be able to put that data out there. And that's why I'm asking for this moratorium, so they have that opportunity. But when you think of benzene and the chemicals that come from gasoline that have been shown to cause cancer over time, and when you have a concentration of gas stations all in one close proximity to neighborhoods, is that affecting their health, right? Mm-hmm. That's something that I think we need to be cognizant about. We need to be diligent about. And when it's coming directly from the neighborhoods themselves, we need to listen, right? They elected us to work for them. And so when they have issues on these matters that directly affect their daily lives, I think we have to do all that we can to look at our options.
We're speaking with Houston City Council member Edward Pollard about his proposal to pause the approval of new gas stations near residential neighborhoods and what it could mean for the future of development, public health, and quality of life in Houston. If you'd like to join the conversation, call or text 713-440-8870.
We have on the line right now Chris from the Old 6th Ward. Chris, what's on your mind?
Yeah, hello. Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for calling.
I actually live probably about 200 feet from my front door to the site of a proposed gas station. And so I really appreciate and support that Council Member Pollard has joined today to talk about why it's important for us to kind of just, pause, reflect, understand what is it that that's at stake here when we start putting gas stations at the rate that they're happening so close to homes. And really one of the concerns that I know has come up lately just because of some important research that some of my neighbors has done is the way in which gas stations are reviewed by the city and the way in which they conflict with the fire code. Right now, new gas stations are not really reviewed under the fire code until after they're already in construction and have been permitted. And that enables developments to proceed while also posing a hazard to life and safety. So as an example, a site plan next to a home are approved even if fuel operations can't comply with federal fuel delivery safety requirements, which are about 300 feet separation from open flames. So that means like if somebody has a fire pit in their backyard or grilling or, step out for a smoke, the gas station can be in violation of federal fire code. I just wanted to elevate that as part of the story here. I appreciate y'all taking the time.
Thank you, Chris, for calling. Thoughts?
Those are the type of issues and things that have been coming up in the discussions that I've been having too. People have all types of issues and concerns and questions about what does this mean for their neighborhood, for their quality of life, for their ability to raise their child in a safe and clean environment. And that's why I think this discussion is so important, and we need to have a platform for people just like this gentleman to be able to express their concerns, bring those to the city, and see if there's any way in which we can creatively navigate this and come up with something that works.
Chris brings up an issue here for me that I'm curious to get your response to. What currently are there as far as regulations on building gas stations in neighborhoods? What kind of applications need to be applied? What are the concerns we have? Or can anyone, if you buy a piece of land, you can build a gas station there?
Yeah, for the most part, if you buy a piece of property, there are no real stringent regulation on can a gas station be near a residential property, or if there's a gas station right across the street, will that preclude me from having the ability to put one on this side of the street? As long as it's for a legal purpose and you meet all of the legal requirements from a permitting standpoint, you're good to go. The issue becomes when you have 3, 4, 5 gas stations all very closely concentrated around a residential area. Sometimes you'll pull up near an intersection and there's 4 on each corner, right? The question becomes, not only from a health and safety standpoint, is that the appropriate way to develop, but also when you think of some of the issues that happen when you have a 24-hour establishment that's lit up with the loitering, sometimes drug sales. There's sometimes meetups of these cars and motorcycles that are there. You have, a attraction sometimes to homeless people who are on the property, and it starts to disrupt the character of the neighborhood. then you also diminish the ability for those tracts of land to be developed for something else, right? We want accessible gas, but we also want accessible banking or retail or restaurants, something to give a very diverse offering of commercial business to that neighborhood. But when you tie down all the property for gas stations, you diminish that opportunity.
Mm-hmm. One of our YouTubers, the folks that watch us on YouTube, added into the conversation, surely a high density of gas stations, what you were just addressing, forces them to compete and keep prices more reasonable. Every neighborhood needs a gas station. What's the environmental impact? And the environmental impact is what you're looking at. But what about the thoughts on the idea that the more gas stations, the cheaper the gas?
Totally true. And I hear that from the gas station owners in that industry. And that's an important part of the discussion. Yes, when you have competition, it drives down the price. And so that is something to consider as well. But we don't want to put, 15 cents over the health and safety of our families. We don't want to put, a few cents above the ability for diverse economic development for a community. And so it's a balance that we have to understand. And there's a balance that we need to try to strike as we find a resolution.
It's interesting. It's not an issue I really ever thought of, but once we brought it up, I'm like, yeah, I know of 4 brand new gas stations near us. And I think every time I saw them going up, it was always my impression, oh, the city must deem this necessary. There must be that much of a demand for it that they made the decision. I don't think I ever really thought about it as being an individual or an investor's push for it.
Yeah, it's an investor's push. This all private property. Gas stations are big business. We are a very car-centric city. We have a lot of people on the road. And there's a lot of data and due diligence that even those gas station owners put in before they select a corner that they want to develop. But what they're seeing is in very densely populated areas, especially districts like mine in J-City, where those lots are just very attractive for their business profile, and they are able to generate a lot of money. But at the same time, when you have so many concentrated there, it allows for the residents to then worry about the unintended consequences. And many times that is what I'm trying to elevate, are the voices of those that I represent. And when you see so many neighborhoods come together from all over the city that have this same common issue, is something that I think we need to take seriously.
It's interesting listening to the conversation. It has me thinking, but as a businessman, I'm building my gas station because I think I'm going to be able to turn a profit. So I think there's a need for it. But I look around, and in some areas, there's a gas station everywhere I look. Other areas, yes, there aren't as many. And I think of it like food deserts. There's probably gas deserts in the city. But there's a reason those are gas deserts, because they don't think they're going to be able to turn the profit. Are we at a saturation level where we have enough gas stations to meet our need? And I don't know if you guys have done that study yet, or are we a city, because we're so car dependent and we keep growing, that we need more of these gas stations?
Yeah, no gas station owner would develop if they did not feel as if they were going to make some money. So They've done their due diligence and understood that if we put a development here, it's going to generate money. However, we just really have to understand how we design this city when it comes to the amenities that make up a community. And we have to listen to those who live each and every day in these neighborhoods. If they have concerns, then we have to take those seriously. We have to have that conversation. I think having this moratorium is smart. I can tell you, I've sent a lot of letters to the mayor. Many times I don't hear back, okay? But on this one, he even responded knowing that it was a serious conversation to have, because there were so many neighborhood groups that were a part of this delivery. And his office has contacted mine and said that they have instructed their legal department to look into this, to start convening stakeholders. And I think this is a conversation that will be at the forefront over the next few months.
We started this conversation, I was talking about zoning. Do you see this as a gateway to zoning? And would zoning necessarily be a bad thing for the city at this point with the growth we're experiencing?
I'm a proponent of not having zoning. I think our city is very uniquely designed that way. It gives a lot of opportunity for business owners to develop in a way in which they believe will be a benefit to community. But there are exceptions to every rule. And just like with sexually oriented businesses, you can't have a strip club next to a park or a school or a church. You have to think about the dynamics of the characteristics of the community when you're doing certain development. And I think with health hazards, with commercial offerings, with public safety issues, that gas stations has shown to be maybe an exception to the rule. And I don't have all the answers for that, but I think that's why it's important to have the moratorium and allow people to discuss this more in depth. And I think by doing so, we can create a community that's really a good thing for people in the neighborhoods, as well as finding a balance for the gas station owners to still be able to have their business and earn a living.
Do you think the 90-day pause is long enough, if you get that?
That's what the community asked for. So I'm following their lead. This is something that they're passionate about, that they're galvanized around, that they're putting effort into getting data and other responses from people in their neighborhoods. And so they asked for 90 days. I work for them. We're going to go for 90 days.
Another part of this is you're going to look at this. You're going to probably reports are going to come out. The decision going to be made. You say it's for the proposed upcoming gas stations in areas, but we've got lots that are under construction. We've got lots of new ones. We've got lots of old ones around there. Would this lead, do you think, to regulation about how those businesses operate?
That would not be my intent. I don't think we need to penalize people who have already followed the rules. And no fault of their own. They developed a business. They already are operating. I don't think we should do anything to hurt their business or their industry. But for those coming forward, I do think it's smart to at least have the discussion. Mm-hmm. And I think this is what it calls for.
We had a text that came in that said, please ask about TCEQ inspecting gas stations for leaking tanks into the water supply.
Yeah, so that's a statewide entity. They work with the city of Houston. And yeah, we have to stay on top of that. So I would tell that particular person, if they know of a location that they think has not been inspected or needs to be inspected, or something has not gone right with the inspection, you can reach out to my office or whoever their council member's office is, and we'll look into it.
We have a little reaction going on about the pricing by having a cluster of stations. Wine Goddess Texas writes, as a former fuel pricing analyst, yes, having gas station clusters does make pricing more competitive. But then Sean Radigan writes, gas stations use software to collude and keep prices fixed. So we got both sides of the issue coming in on this one.
This is an interesting issue. I can tell you that people are very passionate about it. As I mentioned, I was getting emails for months on this. This is something where when I'm out in the community, people bring it up. They want to keep it as a priority on the platform for me to discuss. And I'm glad that you all thought it was important enough to even discuss it on your show. So when I got the invitation and this was the topic, I thought it was right on time.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate your looking at this and talking about this. Other things that are of concern to you right now, one that I've got to ask about is what we saw happen with Salgado Arroyo and the situation with ICE. Any comments, thoughts, where we're at with anything on that?
Extremely unfortunate situation, one that the last time I was here I spoke about. I talked about the prevalence of ICE. I spoke about how these things were ongoing, having unmarked vehicles on the streets that was causing concern for the undocumented community. So it's unfortunate that it actually led to this. I can tell you from the very beginning of hearing about this, I called for an independent local investigation. And I think that we have all the resources with one of the strongest law enforcement departments in the entire country to not have to just lean on the federal government and their actions and their investigation to get us answers. But we should be able to go out there on our own, work with the district attorney's office, and try to get as many answers for the family and the community as possible. And I'm hoping that that is the direction the mayor will take.
Before I let you go, You won Houstonian of the Year, if I'm not mistaken, for 2025. Can you get it again for 2026? Are you working toward that?
If I'm eligible for it, then I want it again, because that's something that is voted on by the people, and something that I was very humbled to receive.
And that was Houstonia Magazine that bestowed that title upon you. Talking of bestowing titles, any interest in maybe going beyond just being a council member and maybe looking at running for mayor?
Yeah, my term ends at the end of next year. There is a statute that says I can't make an announcement until a year and 30 days out, so there's still a little time there. But I would love to continue to serve the city of Houston. I love being in a nonpartisan environment where I can work with all people regardless of background or party affiliation. I think the things that we do at the city of Houston touches people in their daily lives, and we can get things done much faster. And so it's been an honor and a privilege to serve on the city council. And if I could have the opportunity to rise but stay at the city at the same time, that would be great.
Well, Edward Pollard is a city council member for District J, or as we call it, J City. Thank you for coming in and talking about this.
I appreciate it.
And, when this moratorium goes into effect and you folks have gathered up that data, come back and tell us what we learn and what we know now, and maybe paths moving forward.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Coming up next, New York Times best-selling author Amanda Ward is here on romance scams. We're going to be talking about that as Hello Houston continues. More to watch.
Meet Damola, songwriter, world-class violinist, and award-winning multi-genre artist. We just took his keys for the day and gave him a Ride Metro fare card. Visit ridemetro.org/Damola to learn more about his ride.
And more, streaming around the clock. And PBS members get full access to past seasons with Passport. Search HPM Plus on your smart and connected TVs. It's all waiting for you.
On HPM
There is so much news to cover in Greater Houston, and your vehicle donation directly supports that work. If you've got a car, truck, boat, or RV you don't need anymore, donate it to this station. It could be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars in support that goes straight into Houston Public Media. The donation process is easy and will pick up your vehicle in any condition. Donate any vehicle to Houston Public Media at houstonpublicmedia.org/cars.
On the next Fresh Air, Donald Trump took in about $2.2 billion last year while president. New York Times journalist Eric Lipton will talk about his Pulitzer Prize-winning investigations into Trump's profits and conflicts of interest. Last month, Lipton was one of the Times reporters subpoenaed by the Justice Department. Join us.
Listen to Fresh Air tonight. Starts at 8 o'clock on News 88.7.
I'm Indira Lakshmanan. We drop in on Here and Now resident chef Kathy Gunst and grill with her at home in Maine.
Okay, these are our skewers, and it's been about 3 or 4 minutes, and they are looking beautiful. Can you smell that rosemary?
That's next time on Here and Now.
Listen to Here and Now today at 1 o'clock here on News 88.7.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Ernie Manous and Courtney Markowitz.
Romance scammers are becoming more and more sophisticated, using everything from scripted messages to deepfake videos to create the illusion of a loving partner. Austin author Amanda Eyre Ward is a New York Times bestselling writer, and she spent 2 years researching the world of romance scammers for her new novel, Arrivals and Departures. She joins us now to talk about what she learned and why people keep falling for these scams, even when the warning signs are clear. Amanda, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you for having me.
Amanda, it's great to have you here. I'm going to start right off with what I thought was a ridiculous story, but then I look at the stuff that you're doing and what you have found, and it amazes me. I'm not going to say who, someone close to me, believed they were chatting with Keanu Reeves and they were going to help him out financially. And I'm like, I was floored. I was like, how can you even think that? I mean, just why is Keanu Reeves talking to you? But when you start
and
to look
also,
at,
how much are you willing to pay to
Right.
continue to believe that?
yeah,
That's
but
really
when
the
you look at the
question.
stuff you have uncovered or researched or is that there are reasons people get hooked into this belief, what it feeds them, why. So those of us on the outside who aren't in the game look at it as, oh, this is ridiculous. Why in the world would you? But it builds and people fall for this.
And that's how I started the novel. I had a friend who was scammed, and I thought to myself, how could a educated person fall for this? And in doing the researching of the novel, I came across, well, first I took a class online with a Nigerian guy about how to be a scammer. And he taught me all sorts of things and scripts, and it is so organized. It's like that TV show, The Wire. I mean, the intricacies of these scams are so well done. And it's really psychological manipulation.
Yeah.
They find your soft spot and they sell you hope.
Well, and I also heard, is this true, that they almost leave in like grammatical errors and things like that because they know if you don't catch that something seems off about the dialogue, then they know they have the green light to keep going. Because if you don't notice something is wrong right off the bat, they know they've got a good one.
I mean, not only that, but they have all sorts of, now they can do AI deep fakes. So they can take Keanu Reeves's face and make him talk to you with his voice and use your name. However, as of the time that I was researching, and I think this is still true, AI cannot make the mouth work correctly. So a lot of the scammers decided to be surgeons. So when they call their girlfriend or boyfriend from the operating room, they can wear a mask that covers up the mouth.
Well, I do want to say before we go any deeper in this conversation, if poor Keanu Reeves is in need of money and has been reaching out for help, I don't want to stop his need, but we can pretty much assume that isn't happening. Courtney's been telling a fascinating story about this same thing. I'll let you share what you want.
Yep,
but...
I had a family member go through the same thing, and I mean like hundreds of thousands of dollars gone. And this is someone who lost someone that was close to them, was still grieving, and that's who they kind of played, that's what they played into. To the point that the FBI was involved, explained everything that was happening, and they had to say to her, up until this moment, you have been a victim. From today forward, if you continue with this, you are an accomplice. Because of the way that they kind of reach different levels with this, they try to hook someone in, get money from them, and then they use them to get money from the next unsuspecting person. It's wild.
Well, and interestingly, my previous novel I had a character in an MLM, one of those multi-level marketing things where you sell makeup or lingerie, and those operate in a very similar way in the sense that you just keep paying to believe you're going to get a big payout, and you're recruiting people in. And it's just so hard when you get very deep in to choose waking up and saying, this is all a scam. I'm an idiot. My savings is gone. When the choice is, oh, just send another $50 and there's a guy who's waiting for me and we're going to move to Paris. It's just, it's that sort of mindset.
We have a comment coming in from my British computer guy. A friend of mine's wife got taken for tens of thousands of dollars in a romance scam. And I think what's interesting also what Courtney was saying, a scam is one thing. A romance scam plays on a different psychological level, that there's a hook, an addiction almost to it, a want, a need these people have. What do you see, and the term would be the mark, the person that's having the scam put on them. What do you see common among the marks?
I mean, the thing that's really disturbing and why I'm lucky to be a novelist to explore it is that I really believe it could happen to any of us. I mean, these people are very well trained to identify exactly what you need. And if it's texting you 100 times a day, how's your morning? I understand you. I'm proud of you, those sorts of things, then that's what they'll give you. If it's a business opportunity, your career isn't going well and you want to believe that you can invest in this opportunity and become successful, they're going to give you that. In that way, it is like an addiction, I think. And you want to think, oh, it's just some person who doesn't understand the internet. But the fact is, I met people from all walks of life who fell for this. There's a podcast called The Scam that's actually run by AARP, and they have all kinds of stories. It could be a dog that you buy online. It could be a Peloton machine. That's how they hook you in, and then you start talking, and it just never ends.
It reminds me of everything that you're seeing about these people who are getting wrapped up in these AI relationships. Also, have you seen this, like people who are starting these relationships on ChatGPT? And it's exactly like you said, they find these words to hook you, like all these positive affirmations, like you're so right, you're so smart, no one's ever thought of this before. And it's the same thing that these like criminals are coming up with. I mean, that's a kind of scary tie.
Yes, and my novel is a lot about a family who is adrift from each other. Each one of them is fairly lonely in their own worlds. And I think it's something that makes you realize how much you need community to tie you to the world, because otherwise you are going to fall prey to something that gives you a false sense of community or love if you don't tie yourself in tightly and call your friends and create a community at home.
You mentioned the word loneliness, and I wonder with everything you're saying, it's not just people who are lonely, but I would think people who have a sense of loneliness or emptiness in their personal life are probably more susceptible to these kind of scams. Is that an accurate statement?
I think so, maybe more susceptible, but I have friends who've been scammed, people my age in Austin. Someone called them and said, this isn't a romance scam, but more like, you have an unpaid parking ticket. We need to deal with it now. There's somebody about to come to your house, and you sort of get in this mode of terror, and they keep you on the phone with the pressure, and you just want it to stop and you want it to end. But in terms of romance scams, yes, I think probably loneliness has a great deal to do with it.
Yeah. And I would also think from reading the stuff that you have out there that when it comes to the romance scams, the amount of money seems much more significant. That for some reason, when they hook you into the interpersonal, the prospect of being with someone, they can milk more out of you. A parking ticket, a product you buy, something like that seems to have a finite limit to maybe initially, where these others because they play on the psychological part of it, it can go so much deeper before you realize how far in you are.
And for so long. It's like they don't want it to end.
Right.
It keeps going and going and going.
So, I mean, there are kids who don't have any advantages, and they are sitting around a generator. I saw an interview with kids in a town outside of Lagos, and they are texting hundreds and hundreds of people a day. And if anyone responds, it goes up the chain. They have names for all these various positions to someone who has purchased a script or knows English better or has access to photographs. But they will text someone at times for months or a year before they ever ask for a cent. Because why not?
Wow. Sometimes I hear that when you get these texts, sometimes I'll get a text that's like from the wrong person, but they write to me and they want to start this conversation going. And I used to play with them. I would come back with, oh, thank God you got a hold of me. I don't know what to do with the body. And I would send it back just to see what their reaction would be. But then I heard that they get in trouble at that end. You shouldn't engage them and think you're out, because it's not just some person sitting at a keyboard, as you said. They're trapped in a system that's abusing them to do a lot of this work too.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, I didn't get into this in my novel, but they've now uncovered these compounds in Myanmar and other places where people are literally held. But yeah, when they text you and just say, Jane, are we meeting for lunch?
Right.
That is one of them. And then there's just all sorts of tells, like anyone who won't get on a camera. I mean, my daughter and I watch Catfish. Anytime your boyfriend won't video call you, there's a problem.
Yeah.
But there's all sorts of things. They'll show really expensive things. They won't understand the city that they claim to live in. And then, believe it or not, there's a whole other scam industry built around allegedly being the scam catchers. So if you get scammed and you go looking for someone to find your scammer, you could run into another person who's going to take you for a bunch of money while they allegedly look for your scammer.
Well,
That's
terrible.
I want to know more, but I'm out of time, unlike a scammer who has years to go at you. I don't, but I want to thank you so much. I wish you luck with the book arrivals and departures. Amanda Eyre Ward is a New York Times bestselling author. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to take a quick break. We have a lot more of Hello Houston in the next hour.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support comes from the Museum of Fine Arts Houston, presenting Ernesto Neto, Sunforce Ocean Life, an immersive exhibition exploring ecology, spirituality, and sensory awareness. Now through September 7th, tickets at mfah.org.
It's a minute before 12 o'clock here at News 88.7. Could see some showers this afternoon in the Houston area, the high around 95. Slight chance of thunderstorms this evening, then turns clear, the low 79. Tomorrow, another warm day. The high of around 96 with mostly sunny skies. 88 here at the University of Houston. Get HPM anytime on HPM Plus, free to download for smart TVs. This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston, News 88.7. It's a service of the University of Houston. It's 12 o'clock.
Just ahead on this hour of Hello Houston, President Trump signed another executive order aimed at trying to alter the way U.S. children are vaccinated. We'll discuss this and more as we continue diving into today's top headlines. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm Courtney Markowitz. Coming up, why are Black women still more likely to die from breast cancer than other women? And how could a historic gift from Dr. Ruth Simmons help to change that?
Plus, how did Houston become one of America's greatest jazz cities? And what stories are at risk of being lost? We explore our city's rich jazz legacy and the effort to preserve it for future generations.
And of course, we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text us at 713-440-8870, or you can email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Louise Schiavone. Senator Richard Blumenthal says he wants to know details about new reports of President Trump's travel out of Turkey after a NATO summit. The Washington Post reports that Trump boarded Air Force One, clandestinely left the plane, and due to security concerns traveled out of Turkish airspace on a military aircraft. Blumenthal wants to know what the safety calculations were for journalists and others who traveled on Air Force One.
And that's why I'd like to know what precautions were taken to make sure that they were safe, flying in an airplane that could have been a target of the Iranians with missiles or other devices that were capable of evading the defensive mechanisms on the old Air Force One.
Blumenthal spoke on CNN. NPR has not confirmed this independently. President Trump is clapping back over Iran's latest financial demands to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. NPR's Franco Ordonez has more.
It was just a week ago that Trump was boasting that he would soon be announcing an agreement to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. But now both sides are making demands for compensation. Kori Schake served in the George W. Bush White House. She said Iran has rightly assessed the president's desperation to end the war and is trying to hurt the president politically, likening it to the 1979 Iranian hostage crisis that helped take down another former president.
It looks to me like the Iranian regime wants to turn President Trump into Jimmy Carter. It wants to impose the kind of humiliation on President Trump that they imposed on President Carter.
And she says they appear to be succeeding. Franco Ordonez, NPR News.
Russia has released former U.S. Marine Robert Gilman, arrested 4 years ago in Russia. The U.S. has argued he was wrongfully detained. The 32-year-old Gilman planned to teach English in Moldova and was traveling when he fell ill on a train and was arrested. Facing disputed charges, he kicked a police officer. Gilman is said to be quite ill. There's a special primary election in Alabama today for several congressional districts reconfigured mid-cycle. This after the U.S. Supreme Court removed race as a consideration for drawing district lines, but allowed for partisan gerrymandering. NPR's Debbie Elliott has more.
Joseph Spraggins of Hope Hull is a voter I spoke with. His congressional district changed, and he's skeptical about the new map and thinks it will likely dilute the black vote in Alabama.
It has been crazy, and it's just seems so unfair because with the representation, the congressional district should be equal to the percentage of the people in that state. With this, it throws everything out of whack.
Candidates acknowledge this confusion, and they fear this is going to be a low turnout affair.
NPR's Debbie Elliott reporting. Wall Street, the Dow off 93, the Nasdaq off 153. This is NPR.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Shelby Rose. Harris County commissioners have earmarked funding for an artificial intelligence program that will speed up the permitting process for new construction projects. News 88.7's Sarah Greneau reports.
The new AI pilot program, which will cost about $750,000, will be used to evaluate new building permits in Harris County. Officials say it would make the process more accurate and easier for the public to understand. Milton Rahman is the executive director of the Harris County Engineering Office.
So during the implementation process, we're going to do extensive outreach to make sure that the local knowledge and the process and everything is being transferred into this.
The earmarked funds were approved by commissioners last week. The program has been implemented in other major cities like Austin, where city officials have said it would significantly cut down on the amount of time spent reviewing engineering permits. I'm Sarah Greneau, News 88.7.
Local health experts are criticizing the federal government for its decision to change the childhood vaccine schedule. This executive order by President Trump removes broad recommendations for several routine shots. Catherine Troisi is with the American Public Health Association. She says that the guidance doesn't follow what has been widely considered as reliable advice, specifically when it comes to separating the mRNA vaccine into different shots.
The child is unprotected for a longer period of time. So we don't have any approved single measles or mumps or rubella vaccines. It's a combined vaccine that has been shown to be safe and effective.
Troisi made her comments on Houston Matters this morning. Voters in the Cy-Fair School District are going to decide on a $1.6 billion bond package this November. The board approved putting it on the ballot last night, with trustee Christine Kalmbach casting the only no vote.
And I just wanted to say for the record, I know that the district has needs, and I want to support that. My issue is the amount.
Cy-Fair has an $80 million deficit going into this school year. District leaders say they will have to make significant cuts to personnel and transportation without additional funding. I'm Shelby Rose, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Fisher Investments. As a fiduciary, Fisher Investments is obligated to act in their client's interest. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com. Investing in securities involves the risk of loss. This is NPR.
From Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston.
Hello. Ernie Manous with you. Joining me in the guest host chair today, Courtney Markowitz. Hello there.
Hello.
People know you all over the stage, around town, and New York. You did Jekyll and Hyde on Broadway?
I did, yeah, with Constantine Maroulis and Deborah Cox.
Yeah, they toured through here, and I got to interview both of them when they were here, and they seemed like a lot of fun.
They are a lot of fun. There's a lot of personality in there, but they're very fun. But yeah, I toured with that show the whole time, so we were a little unique where instead of playing on Broadway first and then touring. We were the Broadway-bound national tour of Jekyll and Hyde. So I got to do it. But when we played in Houston, I got to go on for Emma, who's the character that I understudied the whole time. And so I'm like, oh yeah, I'm an old pro at Houston Theater.
This is my crowd.
Yeah, exactly.
When you tour with something, do you feel a difference city to city? Like, do different jokes land differently? Do you learn about people by how they receive a show?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think especially whenever you get into these cities that kind of have famous demographics, you know, like West Palm Beach is going to play a little differently than Houston, Texas is, you know, things like that. But that's what makes it fun. But I have, so many friends who want to get season tickets to tours and everything. I'm like, honestly, get the first Tuesday night show, because that's your first night in the theater. You're feeling out the crowd. You want to do your best job. Most people sleep on a Tuesday night, but I'm like, not on tours. Those are good crowds to see.
Oh, really? Because I would think on a Tuesday night for an audience,
right?
Tuesday night, you guys don't know what's going to land and what's not going to land.
But that's fun. But you get to see some eager, ready performers. That's the fun stuff. And you might get to see stuff go wrong, which is why you really go to see theater. It's so fun.
No, that is not why I go to see theater. I go to see theater for so many cool things. But one thing is, you always want someone to go with you to the theater. This is a really bad segue. We were just talking in the last segment about romance scams and how all of that plays out. And just reading the stories that are coming in online from folks that were listening to that interview, it's amazing how many people are impacted by
it's so sad. And just to think that, that the emotion really, what an interesting way to look at it, that like the emotion, how to get the most out of someone is to either threaten their loved one's health and safety, or to give a promise of this like romance. Like, what a terrible string to tug at on someone. It's so
You were
sad.
talking about the person, I don't know if you identified or not, but they ended up sending lots of money. What are we talking about?
I think by the end it was hundreds of thousands of dollars.
That just blows my mind.
And just was so certain that they were doing the right thing, even after family intervened, even after the FBI intervened, would agree that yes, she had definitely been taken advantage of, and then was still doing it. It took a very long time to break that cycle.
And the one thing I don't want anyone to walk away from that story thinking is, oh, well, that person just... This repeats over and over again. And if it didn't work, there wouldn't be this many scams.
Right.
And they're out there.
Well, hearing her talk about her book, I was like, I think even a couple of years ago, people would have read a novel like that and thought it was so outrageous. But now I think like everyone knows someone who has been affected by it. In one sense or another, it's very scary. And with the way the technology is going, I'm like, it's only going to get worse before it gets better.
Well, the scam that I've gotten is the letter in the mail. And I actually did open that one. And it was a photograph supposedly of my home, but I live in a townhouse area, so it was really from the street of a different house. And they said, this is to show we know where you live. We have all of your internet records, and if you don't send this much money, we're going to release them publicly. And all I could think is, who wants to read that much about local theater and Eurovision?
Literally, that's what I was thinking. I was like, someone's going to read my Amazon transaction
and my
history.
Amazon stuff, and have at it. And what gave it away to me that it wasn't legit was that they had the front of somebody else's townhouse. So it was obviously they just grabbed it off, Google Maps and stuff.
Right, but then think about someone who is older who doesn't understand that. They're going to be terrified.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's terrible.
And you have to send this much money or we're going to exploit that. And I was like, come on, what are you going to find on my search?
Right,
correct. Not that I haven't said on the radio every day.
I know, I'm like Old Navy back to school sales. That's what I have.
Oh my God, go Greece, whatever. So, but anyway, it's something to think about. Take care of yourselves. Make sure that you vet who you're talking to. I don't know what the best rules are for it, but, be smart out there.
Well, and I love what she said, too, about really the importance of having your community and having people who are checking on you. When the person in my family went through it, it was during the pandemic when everyone was stuck at home, and the loneliness is, real. So especially the older generation, I think, just to make sure you're really checking on them, not in a way that they have to feel like they're being monitored all the time, but just that you're lovingly looking out for their best interest and taking care of them is so important.
And remember, Keanu Reeves does not need your help getting home from his shoot location, and this prince who is in this country doesn't need you to help him free up some money from his country.
Wait a minute, really? Hold on. I have to check my email.
We did get a text earlier. Courtney Markowitz has the most beautiful speaking voice.
Aww.
We need her on the show more often. What a joy to my ears.
Oh, so sweet. Thank you so much.
If you think her speaking voice is nice, you should hear her sing. She's got a beautiful singing voice.
Maybe not so early.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to make you sing. We've had hosts on the show who have made perform. Oh, sing something for us.
Sure.
It's like, no, this is a skill that takes some warming up and getting going.
That's okay.
But anyway, thank you for joining us here. We still have a lot going on in this hour to come. We are going to be talking about breast cancer, the unevenness of how the success rates happen in the world of breast cancer, and a gift that has been given that could make an important change in how we treat and care for folks with breast cancer. That's coming up. Also, the history of jazz right here in our fine city. It's funny thinking about this, and I'll bring it up when we get to the interview, is the fact that when I think of jazz, I get so lost because it's such a broad spectrum of music can fall into that category.
Oh, yeah. Well, and it's just, I mean, I've been doing music my whole life, and jazz is something I can't even touch. I think it is so brilliant, so complicated. It's not made to be understood. It's made for how unpredictable it is. And so I just have so much respect for it.
But then there's also pop music that is classified as jazz.
Of course,
I mean,
yeah.
the spectrum is so broad.
Absolutely.
You're probably singing jazz and don't even know it at times.
Probably. I got a couple little runs in there.
Well, anyway, all that's coming up on the show, but we always like to start with the news of the hour, so take us in.
President Trump signed another executive order aimed at trying to upend the way U.S. children are vaccinated against dangerous infectious diseases. The new executive order, signed Monday afternoon in the Oval Office, calls for reducing the number of childhood vaccines recommended by the federal government from 17 to 11. The order tries to accomplish similar goals that the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention enacted in January, a move which was later blocked by a judge. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has long questioned the safety and effectiveness of many childhood vaccines. Monday's order is also likely to be challenged in court. What are your thoughts? Call or text 713-440-8870.
Oh, my. Where do I begin with this one? First of all, the president made reference to the fact that you get a soda bottle's worth of vaccines. He alluded to that. Not every child, I don't think, but he said that that's the story he has heard. And that is not at all close to reality. So understand, I wouldn't ask a vet what to do about my plumbing problem. I'm not going to ask a politician what to do about my health concerns. I'm going to ask those who have the knowledge and understanding of it. As a parent, I guess you have two youngins. What are your thoughts on when it came time for vaccinations? First of all, was it concerning to you, or did you have faith in the system that these vaccines have been out there? They do their job.
You know, I think I'm of what seems to now be this crazy idea that I trust doctors and I trust science and I trust the people who have spent their entire lives wanting to be a doctor and then studying to do this and using years and years of research for it. And so, yes, of course, you know, I think probably politically it came up as a thing, you know, well, if you're a first-time parent, are you going to vaccine, whatever? And I thought, well, I'm going to do what's recommended to me. What I did start to hear was, you know, should you space it out or not? Things like that. And it was as simple for me as I went to the pediatrician that I had chosen and that I trusted because she had a degree. And she told me, no, I didn't need to worry about that. And yes, certain people do, but my daughter did not. And so I trusted her because this is what they study to do. And I mean, I think this idea that we don't trust this education is a little scary.
Yeah. Well, I also think about folks that I know from a generation right above me that have that vaccination mark on their arm where they got the thing with like a whole bunch of different needles all at once.
Yeah.
And like I said, they're a generation above me. They have lived a very long, healthy life, and they got all those vaccinations at once. Now, granted, there were less vaccines then, they say, than what they get now. Is it concerning, though, when you think about these little bodies getting all of this at once. That's, I think, what they try and push as a concern.
I think so, but I really believe that there is enough research that goes into all of this, and you have to look at these doctors who are, it's what they're implementing with their own children that they love because they have, this knowledge to do so. For me, I would rather send them out into the world with everything they need and more than with no defense whatsoever, because I think we're seeing already a rise in these infectious diseases that we hadn't seen for a very long time, and there's a reason for it.
What are your thoughts? Are you a parent? Have you had your children vaccinated or chose not to for the information you're hearing? You can give us a call or text at 713-440-8870. Love to hear what you think about it. We had a comment that came in a doc on 88.7 yesterday, said parents have been calling in asking if the science in vaccines has changed. This doctor told them no. The science has not changed. The politics around it may have changed, but the science hasn't. And also, I don't know that it behooves doctors to be giving things to children that make them sicker. I don't think that's their job. That's their goal.
Right. Well, I think you run into such a risk that if people start challenging everything these doctors are doing and making their job so much more difficult, we're going to stop having them. People aren't going to start spending, hundreds of thousands of dollars for these degrees in medicine when what's the point? No one believes them anyway. I just think it's a very slippery slope. But
now, we had a caller that called in and left the message, said, do you trust the same medical people who lied about COVID? That was from Chip from Cyprus. Well, it depends which way you think they lied about COVID. You could say that they said it was more dangerous than it was, or that it was less dangerous than it was. What I do know is that I did a show every day for 3.5 years through the COVID period. And every day we started the show with how many people had died that day from COVID or COVID-related issues. And when the vaccine came out, that number dropped immediately down. And so there's definitely a connection between the two. So take what you will from that little story, but that's what I always think too. We had a text come in as a nurse who has seen what happens to unvaccinated children in the ICU. This is insane.
I went through this. I was pregnant with my second daughter when one of the second kind of surges of COVID came through. And I have a very good friend who works in the ICU. And I remember her coming home one day and saying, oh, we lost another mom who was unvaccinated. And I was like, what do you mean you lost her? Where did she go? And she was like, it's something no one is talking about. But the facts were the facts. The numbers were the numbers. And, I understand the tentativeness of it whenever you're talking about your children and your unborn child and everything. But to me, I was like, I will take every precaution that I can. It was such a sad time that hopefully we will never have to see again. Because of science.
It's disturbing. I was talking to someone just recently, and I hadn't seen him in a while, and he mentioned that he had lost his wife. And I was like, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. And he said, yeah, it was during COVID. She died of COVID. And I hear these stories all the time and think nowadays, how often do you hear of someone dying of COVID? You don't.
Right.
And what was the difference? We had a vaccine.
Yeah.
Now, were there different groups within populations that were less likely to have a negative outcome if they got COVID? Absolutely. I don't think anyone is saying that isn't true. But, you can't. Science is there helping us every day. And vaccines have made huge changes in our world and for the better. And you can disagree with me if you want, but that's what I believe. I have an anti-vaxxer in the family, writes the Dark One. College graduated, been vaccinated as a child. The internet turned her. And yeah. All right. Well, that's our thoughts on it. What are your thoughts? Give us a call. Share it with us. 713-440-8870. A couple other stories happening in the news. I would love to. Let's just jump right over to the D3 story.
Sure.
Share that with our folks.
All right. Walking through the halls of the Garden Oaks Theater, Maureen McNamara's phone started ringing. She didn't recognize the number, but answered anyway. You never know who's going to make $1 million donation, she joked afterward. Since late February, Art House Houston, a nonprofit organization which McNamara directs, has campaigned to raise money to preserve the theater. Houston raised filmmakers Richard Linklater and Wes Anderson, we've heard of him, have called for saving the theater, the latter of whom Bloom hosted a fundraising soiree for the theater. Houston philanthropists Bobby and Phoebe Tudor donated $500,000 to the cause. But the campaign is more than $5 million short of its $7 million goal to save the theater. A new owner, who did not immediately return a request for an interview, purchased the theater last fall and is purportedly planning to demolish the theater with plans for a shopping center. We've talked about this a lot. What should be done? Call or text 713-440-8870.
I have been very involved in this whole thing. I was actually helped out on the fundraiser with Wes Anderson for the theater, and they've been on our show a number of times. The understanding is that the owner of the theater has given them a couple points where they could raise so much money or show an interest, and will sell the theater back to them for the same price they bought the theater for, so that they can save the theater. But if, in fact, they don't raise the money, they need to move forward with their development. They have invested in the theater already. They are at a point now where this is the last extension they could give. So they've given one more extension. I think it's to the end of the month. And the Friends of the River Oaks is who they were originally, and now they're Art House Houston, is trying to save this theater. And this is the moment.
Yeah, it's so sad to me that even, that the knee-jerk reaction is, well, the theater's never going to make any money, so let's make it a shopping center or a gas station.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking. Obviously, I'm too close to things like this. It's just seeing the arts in Houston torn out of these hugely established cities. It's just, you're really doing a disservice. I promise you, we don't need another,
Well,
I won't
the cool thing is I actually, Maureen took me there and I had to walk through the theater, and it's in beautiful shape, and a lot of the original decoration and ornamentation is still there in place. And to see something that close to being able to be used again be demolished is a sad statement for our city. Reach out to Art House Houston if this is something you'd like to get involved in saving. The clock is ticking, and we don't want to lose another wonderful historic theater. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to have Dr. Ruth Simmons here from Texas Southern University about investment in breast cancer prevention, coming up here on Hello Houston.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're watching right now. So take the next step and become a new member of the station you rely on. Every gift makes a difference. And what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. So join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
20th book, Anne Lamott still finds writing just hard.
I mean, the American way is that you should always know what you're doing. You've made a decision and you should stick with it. No writer that I've ever met or read knows what they're doing until they've done it.
Best-selling author Anne Lamott. That's next time on the TED Radio Hour from NPR.
TED Radio Hour tonight at 10 on News 88.7.
Houston Matters highlights the people, places, issues, and ideas that define Greater Houston. And we do it live on the air weekday mornings at 9 on News 88.7. But we know you're not always available then to listen. So subscribe to our podcast wherever you get yours, or find each day's program to stream online at your leisure at houstonpublicmedia.org. And reach out with questions or comments anytime. Email us at talk@houstonmatters.org.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV 8 at 7, celebrate Ken Burns' landmark series, The Civil War, with in-depth interviews and favorite clips. Then at 8:30, watch Burns' biographical portrait of Thomas Jefferson, tonight on TV 8.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Texas Mutual Insurance Company, a workers' compensation provider committed to helping Texas communities and emphasizing safety. More at texasmutual.com/TexansGetIt.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Ernie Manous and Courtney Markowitz.
Breast cancer remains one of the leading causes of cancer deaths among Black women, making efforts to close persistent health disparities more urgent than ever. A landmark endowment at Texas Southern University aims to do just that by expanding breast cancer prevention, education, and research, while strengthening the role HBCUs play in improving health outcomes in underserved communities. Our guest today knows firsthand the transformative power of higher education. Dr. Ruth Simmons is a distinguished visiting fellow at Rice University, where she continues to shape conversations around leadership, equity, and education. She also serves as advisor to the president of Harvard for HBCU Initiatives, and she went on to become the first Black president of both Smith College and Brown University. Throughout her career, she has championed educational access, academic excellence, and the enduring importance of historically Black colleges and universities. Joining us now to tell us more about this historic investment in Texas Southern University and what it could mean for the future of breast cancer prevention and health equity, Dr. Ruth Simmons. Ruth, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That was a good introduction, but we also, I don't know that we mentioned you were also president at Prairie View A&M, which
Yes.
a lot of folks know you for your work there as well. I guess what strikes me at the beginning of this whole conversation initially is I had always heard that the outcome for African American or Black women with breast cancer has been not as positive as it has for other communities. What surprised me, and I didn't realize, was that the diagnosis rate is almost the same. So it is in the treatment and facilitation after the diagnosis. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Well, it shouldn't surprise the disparity
Yeah.
that arises from a difference in economic and social circumstances. Shouldn't surprise us at all. I was born right here in Texas and grew up in Fifth Ward, and that was a world apart from the rest of the city. And what we had access to, what we knew about the opportunities ahead. Really, it was so different from what a child in another part of the city might have experienced. So we have to be very conscious of these ongoing differences if we want to have a society in which people are treated with respect, with fairness, and in just ways. I see it as the only way we can go forward together is if we respect the value of every person's life, no matter their circumstances, no matter their economic ability. In the case of breast cancer, I have to say that I was impelled to do this because of my sister. So this center that I've helped to fund is named after my sister, Nora B. Wilson. And her life speaks volumes about this issue. Born in a small town in East Texas, of sharecroppers, never having routine opportunities to go to school, to have health care as needed, to be respected as a woman, as a human being. But she was everything to us as a family. And I admired her greatly because she grew up in difficult circumstances, and yet she cared about people. And she was able to help her younger siblings on their way to adulthood. Well, I just sort of think of her life as so emblematic of what we would want everybody to do, no matter their circumstances. She wasn't born rich. She wasn't born in privilege. She wasn't even born to have the rights of a citizen, and yet she cared. So part of what has moved me so much about being a part of this profession is that universities have an opportunity to serve communities in a way that fills us with such pride and gratitude for being a part of these communities. And in the case of Texas Southern University, imagine being situated right there in Third Ward, an historic community in Houston, and having this Nora Wilson Breast Care Center where they can advise women and where they can give screening and so forth. That comfort, that nearness, makes it a much easier and more convincing arrangement for many women who are left out of the healthcare system.
So easier, the trust there differently than if it was given to a hospital, a health institution, giving it to a historically
trust
black
and
college
convenience.
Yeah,
I mean it's right there. Okay, so imagine that someone who is in Fifth Ward, who has to go to a distant hospital for screening, for example. Imagine how imposing that might be, how frightening that might be, not to mention how expensive it would be perceived to be. So these hurdles are the kinds of hurdles we should be trying to lower and eliminate for all of the population when it comes to health care. And so the role that they want to have in doing this is just enormously inspiring to me. And I was moved to do this because what a wonderful idea. And my sister actually had breast cancer. And I thought, what a wonderful match between what her life represented and what TSU is trying to do. You know, TSU is about to celebrate its 100th anniversary. Now, I feel very nervous about this because, you know, TSU and Prairie View are competitors. And so all those Prairie View people out there are going to be furious with me when I say this, but the importance of TSU in this community cannot be overstated. The number of young people they have brought from the margin to the center, from poverty to economic stability. Oh, what a story that is. And so I'm proud to be associated with this effort. My family is proud to be associated with this effort and with this institution.
Dr. Simmons, you make reference to the fact that you were born in the Fifth Ward. A lot of folks that are going to listen to this are going to say, so how did you get where you are today?
Okay, so I was actually, I grew up in Fifth Ward. I was born in Grapeland, Texas.
Oh, well, then that answers the question.
And
that explains it.
Yeah.
But being raised in Fifth Ward, a lot of folks don't see a path out in a lot of situations. What was it that gave you the strength to accomplish as much as you have?
Well, it certainly wasn't me. I couldn't have known. I didn't know enough about life. Well, here's what I knew. I knew that I was hated because of my race. Remember now, this is back in the 50s and 60s. I knew I was hated. I knew that people thought I was not very intelligent. I knew that people said that I was not deserving of pursuing any higher order thinking or higher order profession. I knew all of this. And so how could I possibly expect anything different for my life than what my parents experienced? Except, this is the beauty of education, you know, except we get to go into a classroom and we are privileged to read about other peoples, about other circumstances. We're privileged to know that whatever we're experiencing in this moment is not the final experience we're going to have. But more importantly than that, teachers who said to me, you know, Ruth, you're smart. And they kept saying that to me. And I didn't necessarily think it, but I knew I wanted to hear that again. Mm-hmm. And so I just worked feverishly to make sure that I could please them and so forth. So teachers encouraging me and saying to me, and this is the marvelous thing about where we are today and where we are in every era. We look down in front of us and we think, that's it. It's going to be this way forever. But there are always those people out there who are looking to the horizon. And they're saying to us, no, don't worry about what it is today. Worry about working toward making it better in the future. And that's what these teachers did. They thought that there might be a chance that one day the world would change. So I went off to college, and I was pretty awful, pretty insufferable as a child, which my sister Nora told me all the time, and so I was very taken with the idea that, well, I could shape something for myself. So when I was 17 or 18, I went off to Mexico. I bought a Greyhound ticket bus, didn't tell my family. I rode to Mexico, Saltillo, Mexico, on that Greyhound bus to study Spanish. I wanted to see something different from what I had grown up with. And that really sealed the deal for me, because I understood there are people elsewhere who think differently, who care about people differently. Yeah. I want to be a part of that world. So it started me on the path to studying other cultures and trying to create a life that would be meaningful in the context of the whole world, not just my little corner of it.
We're speaking with Dr. Ruth Simmons, Distinguished Visiting Fellow at Rice University and advisor to the president of Harvard for HBCU Initiatives, about Texas Southern University's landmark investment in breast cancer prevention and the critical role HBCUs can play in advancing health equity through research, education, and community partnerships. If you'd like to join the conversation, call or text 713-440-8870.
When you make that gift that you have made, and you think about the work now that will be done there, do you also think about all of the people that will now have further opportunities, that you're giving them so much more than just medical help in this moment, but an opportunity for an even brighter future?
I think about that, but I always think, every time we show that we care, we are lifting people up. And we don't ever know when that's needed or how it's needed. But, I think about that kid living in a trailer park and trying to imagine a way to the future. And they go into a grocery store and they walk by someone who says something kind to them and something uplifting to them. And I think about that all the time. Everything we do in higher education, we should be trying to represent that. The opportunity is there. Come in. Learn. There is never an end to learning, ever. And so I think about what this is going to mean in terms of what it signals to people about how much they matter. Absolutely.
Yeah. You've spoken a lot about education, and not to get political in any way, but I'm curious, your concerns about the direction we're going in the educational universe these days, and where we may be missing the boat and where we need to have our eyes opened.
Well, first and foremost, I always insist that we not forget that we are in the process of making human beings in education, right? We're not just learning a task or imagining a new technology. We are creating people. I feel created by the education that I had. I'm not the person, as I said in my book that I wrote, I am not the person that I was born to be, not by a long shot. I'm the person I poured my heart and soul into becoming. That's what education does for us. And that's what I think about all the time in regard to the role of the University of Houston, the role of Prairie View, the role of TSU, institutions connected to communities and doing the brilliant work of creating people.
Mm-hmm. Well, the work you're doing is amazing. And when you think about how important it is to close the gap in the healthcare disparities, what is your hope for how this money is being used?
Well, I hope that, first of all, it will be an example to other universities of their social role and how much they can impart by their presence, their real presence in their communities. And of course, I preach this. I preach this at Harvard. I preach it at Rice. I preach it everywhere. I think it's so vital for us to be connected in that way. Secondly, I hope it's expanded greatly. And I know the President Crawford at TSU, is already thinking about how he can magnify and enhance this effort by joining forces with others to do more of this screening and advising. Universities are finally starting to work together and stop competing endlessly with each other just to compete. And so I think that when that gets started in a serious way, we're going to have much more beneficial results with screening more. By the way, men have breast cancer too. Okay, so just screening and answering people's questions. Are you ever fearful when you go to the doctor if you think something's wrong with you and you don't really want to go and so forth? Just holding people's hands and saying, this is what it's all about. This is the science behind it. You don't have to be afraid. All of that is fantastic to provide to the public.
You talked a little bit about the hurdles that Black women especially have to go through whenever it comes to breast cancer treatment. Do you have an idea of like what you think the first hurdle that needs to be tackled? Is it a lack of like inspiration to get there for early screening? Is it just convenience of it being too far away to follow through with treatment? Do you kind of have a first hurdle that you're hoping to tackle?
I think the hurdle is it's so easy to postpone things. You've got a problem trying to get food on the table.
Of course.
You have a problem trying to retain employment. You have a problem just managing day-to-day life. And here you are, there's something that you need to attend to, but it'll keep, right? So I hope, first of all, that we become more accustomed to attending to our health, understanding that how vital we are to the health of our children and our community, our families. It's very important for us to take care of ourselves. And as women, sometimes we're the last. It springs to mind that my mother, who was the mother of 12 children, died in her 50s. I know why she did. She was always the last one in the household to take care of her health. It wasn't as pressing as taking care of children and other things. So we want people to take care of themselves and not be afraid to step out and to say, let me take this time. And that's one of the things I think about telehealth is that you have so much more access to information today through these other virtual means that people ought to be encouraged to just reach out and find out at the first onset of questions about their health.
You just inspired me to make the 6 phone calls I need to make to schedule appointments.
Do it today.
I know. I said my girls, they've done all their back to school doctor appointments. I haven't been. Couldn't tell you how long.
Well, you bring up an interesting thing about the concept of it'll keep. I've got things I have to worry about. I also think that there's an element of I don't want to know. If I find out I have this, then there's this problem and this on top of it. And you know what?
But why is it that people feel that way? That's a lack of information when they feel that way, right? It's like my being a child and not really wanting to think about the future because it couldn't be all that good, right? Okay, so I think the more you step into these matters and understand it more fully, and the more you believe you can understand it, right? That you feel more comfort with receiving the help that you need. But you need to feel some comfort first before you take that step.
Well, you've taken a major step in helping so many people. Thank you. Come back anytime. If you're driving by the station, just come on in. We'll take you anyway.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah. Dr. Simmons, former president, Prairie View A&M, Distinguished Visiting Fellow at Rice University, and advisor to the president of Harvard for HBCUs. Thank you very much for coming in.
You are most welcome. Thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Coming up, we're going to take a look at Houston's jazz legacy as we wrap up the show today. Stay with us.
It's not just your car. It's the one that brought your kids home from school, took you cross-country, held memories, laughter, even a few breakdowns. When it's time to let go, give your car a new purpose. Donate it and turn memories into meaningful support for this station. Plus, you'll enjoy free and easy pickup, potential tax benefits, and a simple donation process. Your gift supports the programs you and your family love. Donate today and help keep public media strong. Call or donate online.
There have been years of state investment and strategic planning, and now Beijing is looking more and more like the technology capital of the world. I'm Kyle Rizdal. What happens if, or maybe when, China wins the battle for tech supremacy, and would that be enough to tip the scales of the world economic order? We'll talk about that next time on Marketplace.
Marketplace tonight at 6:30 comes up right after All Things Considered here on News 88.7.
On the next Fresh Air, Donald Trump took in about $2.2 billion last year while president. New York Times journalist Eric Lipton will talk about his Pulitzer Prize-winning investigations into Trump's profits and conflicts of interest. Last month, Lipton was one of the Times reporters subpoenaed by the Justice Department. Join us.
Fresh Air tonight at 8 o'clock here on News 88.7.
Support for Houston Public Media comes from Decamera. The 26-27 season features Joyce DiTonato and Time for Three, Jazz with Joshua Redman and Julianne Laws, and more. Information and tickets at Decamera.com.
Support also comes from Baylor College of Medicine. With 125 years of innovation behind it, Baylor has driven progress in health and medicine through research, education, and care that push the frontiers of modern science.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on today's topics, call or text 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now Ernie Manous and Courtney Markowitz.
The Houston Jazz Legacy Project was founded to preserve, document, and celebrate the rich history of jazz in Houston through live conversations, oral histories, performances, and educational programming. They'll be holding their first roundtable discussion on the history of the Houston jazz scene at El Dorado Ballroom on Wednesday. To tell us more about Houston's jazz scene, past and present, are local musicians Thomas Helton and Woody Wilt. Good afternoon and welcome to Hello Houston.
Thanks, Courtney.
Thank you.
Hey, Ernie.
Okay, let's start with, we were talking about this a little bit at the beginning of the show, too. The definition of jazz, because I always think I know what jazz is, and then I hear some artists say, oh, I'm a jazz artist, and they're like singing pop. Then I hear another jazz artist, and they're playing something different. Is jazz just music?
Doctor?
Yeah, it is just music. I would say that it has to do more with the approach to playing it. That it leaves room for personal expression that we hear through improvisation or just even interpretation of a melody.
So why does Houston have a rich history of it? What was it that brought it here? How come it's birthing out of here? Explain the connection between Houston and that style of music.
Well, the truth is I've been learning a lot about it since we've started this project because a lot of it is not really documented. There's no one has ever done any kind of serious book or documentation on the history of music in this city, in particular jazz. But there are so many famous artists who came from here who shaped the musical community, and one of which today is would have been his birthday, and that's Arnett Cobb, who was one of the great jazz saxophonists who played with Lionel Hampton, and he discovered many great talents historically. You know, he was not only a performer, he was also a booking agent and tracking down talent.
So why do we not have a good history of this? We document so many things in today's day and age. Why is it taken this light bulb moment to say, wait a minute, this is something that is going to be lost or forgotten if we don't get on top of it?
Exactly. That's why we're here, because because no one's been doing it, and Thomas and I were really kind of discovered that we both had a very common interest in this, and we were working on things independently, and just over coffee a couple of months ago, we had this discussion and thought about, hey, why don't we do a roundtable, and let's do it in August because August is Jazz Month in Houston. Yeah, for the heat.
Time of year.
It's Jazz Month in Houston, and so it's like great timing for doing it. And we threw this together in a matter of like a month and put together the panel and managed to develop a partnership with El Dorado Ballroom, and we're just going with it. So we're learning as we go.
Let me ask you, Thomas, though, back to the question I just asked. Why do you think it hadn't been documented?
There is documentation. It seems to have kind of stalled out in the early 90s. The Houston Public Library has a really nice archive of interviews and video and of course, pictures and whatnot that we intend to go, now that we know that it exists, we're going to go and, of course, explore it so that we can hopefully possibly partner with, hint, hint, wink, wink to the Houston Public Library. But also, it's not something that, it's not out there in our faces. It's not on Instagram. Hey, come down to the public library and check out jazz, So it's stuff that, to Woody's point, that we're kind of discovering as we go to the rich history of the jazz community in Houston. So why? I can't answer that directly, except that it takes somebody that cares about it, I guess, to want to do it. And since we are part of this community, we're not just onlookers. We, Woody and I are, we're Houstonians. I'm born and raised here. I've been trying to survive for 36 years now, being a musician in Houston, and I've developed relationships with the local musicians that if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be where I'm at. So I think those people are as important as the names that maybe most people know, more prominent names.
Right.
These musicians are just as important to players like us that kept us moving forward and inspired us to do better.
I think it was just the city of New Orleans who didn't want Houston stepping on their toes as the jazz capital.
Wait, it's us. It's us.
Wait a minute. And we're also part of a famous circuit, the Chitlin circuit.
Yeah.
So there was a time when artists were coming through and whatnot. But again, Houston has its own scene since the early 20th century.
Could you ever see yourself kind of going in the direction of making something more permanent, like a documentary about this history?
Yes.
I think Woody has a better vision.
Yes. Woody's got a very easy answer. Yes.
Yes.
He's got a better vision for that than I do, but absolutely,
Yeah, it seems like it needs to be preserved, documented.
Yeah. Well, I did my PhD over here at Moore School of Music.
Oh, amazing.
And I did research on a great saxophonist. I'm a saxophonist,
Okay.
Sonny Stitt. So I'm not unfamiliar with research. So this part is kind of exciting to me because it seems like the oral history is a huge part of what is in jazz and folk music. It's the stories that people tell. And one thing that I was really wanting to focus on is to capture the stories of our older musicians while they're still here.
Mm-hmm.
Because when they're gone, the stories are gone.
Absolutely.
I also want to ask about when you think of jazz, and we started with the different styles and the different things that it is there something unique to Houston jazz? Is there a sound unique to us? Thomas is nodding his head yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Texas tenor.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The Texas tenor is a very specific sound that came out of, Texas as a whole, but a number of the players are from Houston. Arnett Cobb, Illinois Jaquette, is
Billy Harper.
These are musicians that are from here that kind of
Don Wilkerson,
that's right. Mm-hmm. That like when specifically saxophone players speak of the Texas tenor sound, these are like the guys that did it, and they're from here. Harold Land.
Yep.
So yeah, no, we have an identity, and that's just one of the things.
And I guess I feel especially close to it because I'm a saxophonist too.
Yeah, well, yes, you would. Something else I want to make sure we talk about before we run out of time is where you're holding this, the El Dorado Ballroom, and it has been restored. Talk to me a little bit about the history of that location even, and how the kind of thrill of doing your roundtable in that space.
Perfect.
Exactly.
It's perfect.
It's perfect. It housed performances by Count Basie, Duke Ellington, Stan Kenton, as well as being a cornerstone in Third Ward and many musicians from Houston who performed there as well. And the fact that it's still here and it's still a performing venue and is updated and modern, and the fact that they want to partner with us, we just couldn't be happier.
Yeah, it's a great location, a great spot, and I'm so happy you're doing it there. And we often talk about environment and how environment impacts something. Going in there and being surrounded, I hate to put it this way, but by the ghosts of so many legends right there joining your conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's a wonderful way to start this. Where do you go from here? What do you do next?
Well,
that was a big sigh.
well, we were kind of chatting outside, and we both sort of kind of lamented on the fact that when we started this, it was kind of like, oh, hey, let's just do this thing, and now it's become, we can kind of see just from our experience how big this thing is, will be, and can become. So it can go as big as we want it to go. It's just how are we going to do it? That's more the question, because we're full-time professional musicians, so this is not like a hobby or something. This is our job. How are we going to fit this ginormous thing into our lives? That's what we're going to have to figure out.
Got to wake up earlier. I know. Those musicians, they don't like to wake up early. You're going to have to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I teach full-time as well, so I know waking up early.
Yeah.
I do both. But one of the things that we're planning to do is this become a series, so that we would like to do multiple of these, and hopefully we continue to partner with the El Dorado Ballroom and do them there. And they will be audio and video recorded, so it'll be preserved for the future.
So who's joining for the roundtable?
Our panel, you want to do it?
Our panel we're really excited about Bob Hinchin, the great pianist Bob Hinchin, the trumpet player James Williams Jr., Horace Alexander Young, the great trumpet player Dennis Dotson, and somebody I'm personally very excited to hear about, the great drummer Carl Lott. Very excited to hear from him, having worked with him quite a bit over the years.
Yeah. If folks want to come, who is this open to? Everyone?
Everyone. It's free.
Free.
Oh, wow.
It
and
is free.
What will they hear?
They will hear
stories, the history. What are we?
They're going to hear the stories. We're not going to talk much at all. We're going to introduce them and let them tell their stories, and then at the end we're going to have a bit of a Q&A with some of the audience members, because we expect there to be a lot of musicians who probably also have their stories that they want to share, and just kind of see where it goes.
Well, I hope it goes far and wide, and very excited you folks came in here to chat with us about it today.
Thank you.
Thomas Helton and Woody Witt are with the Houston Jazz Legacy Project. Just getting going. Can't wait to see where the project takes us from there. Their first roundtable discussion will be, as we mentioned, at the El Dorado Ballroom this Wednesday night at 7 p.m. And as we mentioned, it is free and open to the public. Come, learn our history. Thomas, Woody, thank you very much for joining us today. And Courtney, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. Have me back. This was so fun.
Come back anytime. You too. I'm inviting everyone to come back anytime
good.
they want.
I can
Everyone
do this all
can
day.
come
this
by.
Is so fun.
That brings us to the end of today's show. Thanks for watching and listening. We'll be back tomorrow with Holland Vavre is going to be here sitting in that chair. And this is Hello Houston. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menivar, Laura Walker, Jen Altide, Todd Holslander, Jayla Rhodes, Mark DeClaudio, Tom Carter, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at HoustonPublicMedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
This is News 88.7. Support comes from Belmont Village Senior Living, committed to enriching the lives of seniors through hospitality, engaging programs, and custom care that evolve.